Hey guys, RPG Tweaker from rpgtweaker.tumblr.com. I'm going to talk about part 2 of my Tuesday session involving the Emerald Spire Adventure Path by Pathfinder. So we last left off with Gideon, the Oracle Paladin, who's just recently lost his Paladin powers, basically by throwing in the towel and trying to commit suicide instead of being tortured and whatnot by this angry Undine who believes that Gideon has killed his sister in a very horrible fashion. So, Gideon is bound in chains at the bottom of a 20-foot pool of water. There's magical spells and stuff and potions that have been given to him so he can breathe underwater. Basically so he won't be disturbed, and the Undine feels comfortable in this element and doesn't, want anyone to mess with his basically endless amounts of flaying, torturing, healing, and whatnot, to give him the pain that he feels that he deserves. So, party is not really knowing what's going on because I've been messaging to his phone from my laptop while this is all going on. So it's to kind of help, stomp out a little bit of metagaming that can kind of creep in. So cool points to my my team, my players, my friends, who, kind of didn't try and figure stuff out and let things progress naturally, where they were steadily advancing through the spire and the drown level and kind of not doing it with the undue haste because they didn't really know what was happening to Gideon. Gideon tried several things in trying to get out and whatnot, but basically was not in a very good situation, nor would it be very easy for him to get out. That was kind of the point. He tried negotiating, he tried bartering before with the other Undine, and was kind of making some headway, but basically she was not really able to move and do whatever because Clarkosh basically had an iron grip on the situation. It was funny though because he tried to do the same thing to the other Undine. And I'm like, well, okay, roll whatever you want. And I just go because he just kind of goes, and he's like, what? And I'm like, you're underwater, you can breathe, but you can't speak, at least not coherently. He's like, oh, yeah, I'm underwater. Sorry, I forgot. I'm like, yes. So it's just kind of like that thing, just be conscious of your surroundings. I'm giving you this description of what's happening. Think about that in that way of influencing your actions. But, it's all good. So anyway, the party finds 2 dead minotaurs that are in these 2 sealed rooms. One is shackled to the wall and normal, except being dead. And the second one has these bronze plates kind of grafted into his skin, kind of intermittently. So now the party's kind of well, what's going on with that? So what it is that's kind of an homage to Clarkosh doing that to, say, the minotaurs and stuff that they're going to run into on level 6. So it's kind of a little bit of a foreshadowing and a hint. They're going to be oh, this is maybe these are experiments or early tests or maybe some sort of guinea pigs. But then they're going to see the real thing, and it's going to hit them like a ton of bricks. At least I hope so. I like them to have those surprises. Makes things good. So the party bursts into the room where Gideon is being tortured and flayed and healed. He's horribly scarred. He has needle marks, tubes. He is a wreck. He's not doing so well. So there's just only this small little ledge at the beginning of the room, so there's only enough room for 3 people. Magda, without hesitation, dives right in to try and start to save him. Zebulon, the Inquisitor, jumps right in as well. Raz, the Ranger, jumps in to try and help Gideon. Now, Ophelia does not swim very well due to a massive armor check penalty due to all the gear that she has. She's like, I am not swimming. I will ready in action if something happens up here. The party's like, well, we can attack and do all this stuff, and I explain the thing about total cover, all the negatives they get on range attacks, basically total cover against things that you can't see, all this stuff. Big section of it described in the rules, so basically they have to be in the water if they really want to affect something that far down effectively. So Patrick, the party barbarian's like, well, I'm not going in there, so fair enough. So Magda, with a little bit of difficulty and a good concentration roll, casts silence. The party doesn't really know what's going on, especially the ones underwater, but she hasn't targeted on the Undine. She targets it on the area behind the Undine, just a little bit behind. And the other party goes to stab, and the Undine does a corrosive touch. And I roll really well on it and do 16, 17 damage, so the Ranger's not doing so well. There's Aqueous Orb where there's some buffeting going around. Magda does a sonic scream attack that does 2d8. The Undine fails the reflex and gets hurt fairly badly from that. So then what's happening is there's more combat and stuff that's happening as these rounds progress. While this is happening, the Undine kind of like, has one of its little pets of Bunyip, the thing that took down Gideon from before. It was kind of roaming around the halls just down the side from where the players didn't check out. So it kind of kept up and crept up and bit the Paladin the Barbarian in like a surprise round kind of thing, where it bit once, it got to go again, bit, and there's bleed damage. It tried to roar to scare them. They both made their saves. But basically the party between Ophelia and Patrick were busy dealing with this thing, because it was savagely trying to bite them and bleed. They managed to kill it with a little bit of difficulty and quite a bit of bleed damage. Ophelia heals Patrick and himself so that she can not bleed to death, so generally a good thing. Now while this is all going on, Raz gets knocked into unconsciousness due to the Undine having some heavy hitting spells and some lucky strikes with her trident. To kind of make things go nicely and not to pick on one, either if someone's drawing a lot of aggro, like as in like kind of like old termy WoW terms, so like one person's doing like a real threat, then that person will obviously try and deal with that said threat. If it's not really obvious who, I'll choose, like, say there's 3 people to choose from, I go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'll roll like a d6 and kind of keep it random. That way it's not showing like I am like picking on this one person or doing anything like that, and it's just at the roll of the die, it's all chance. So after all this goes down, Raz gets knocked out. He's unconscious underwater. Magda is like, oh, things are getting serious, so she takes a chance and swims past the Undine, who fails its attack opportunity to try and hit her. She goes to snap the chains that are binding Gideon. I roll a 19, and the break DC I set for it was 26, and basically I have a +5 to my strength and a +2 thanks to a character trait called Muscle of Society. So snap, the chains go, party's like, what? So Gideon tries to grapple and beat up this Undine that's been torturing him and doing all this bad stuff to him. So I say, okay, go ahead. He goes. And I'm like, well, question for you. Do you have improved grapple? So this is after like a round of combat and stuff happening, so the Undine has another attack of opportunity. Shunk, knocks him unconscious. Gideon is now floating at the surface. So now Magda attempts to grapple the Undine and drag him to the silenced area. The Undine doesn't really know what's going on. So before this, Magda quickly points at Zebulon, the Inquisitor, to Raz, and to the surface. So one little quick, and so Zebulon gets the idea, like, I should take him to the surface, and so he does not drown underwater. Good idea. So the party can kind of lose terms of that, because like if you obviously saw your friend drowning and like unconscious underwater, you try and do your best to save him. But in the terms of combat and people paying attention or not maybe paying as much attention, I wanted to let the party know that Raz is underwater. Maybe he should be saved if the party doesn't want him to drown. So Zebulon did a good job, got him up on land. Now the Bunyip is dead, everyone's kind of like dealing with that stuff. So Magda, after dragging the Undine in here, the Undine tries to cast a spell, and it's just like, nothing, because he is in an area that is silenced. Now it's kind of a catch-22, because Magda is also relying on semantic, or verbal components I should say, for all of her spells. So she just does the muscle scaldy thing and maintains a grapple, pins him. The Undine successfully fails at trying to escape from said grapple and the pin, and is getting stabbed for, like, I roll extremely well and stabbing him for like 9 damage a turn with a dagger. Just stab, stab, stab. Party's just like, well, I think she's got this under control, and basically the Undine dies after a couple of rounds being stabbed horribly. And then the session ended with me bringing the Undine up to the shore of this little like ledge thing and like throwing him down on the ground, and Gideon in a rage is just like flailing and beating on the corpse kind of thing. So that's where we left off in the session. The group has just like a couple more rooms to explore the level 5, the drown level, and then they will have successfully completed level 5. Now they'll have to rest, replenish, and resupply before hitting level 6. At least that's what I would do, because they haven't really found so much treasure. There is some treasure they're coming up for, but once they find that, then they will have to sell that good loot. So again, if you ever have any questions or anything that you might want to ask me about at all, gaming related and whatnot, feel free to shoot me a message here on my Tumblr, and I hope you guys have a really good night. Talk to you later. Bye guys.